Miami International Airport. Bustling, chaotic, a crossroads of humanity. Thousands pass through daily, their lives intersecting in a blur of luggage and departure announcements. But on this day, the ordinary rhythm was shattered. It was Gate D7. A departure to London was scheduled. Passengers were checking in, their faces a mix of excitement and anxiety. Then it happened. A ripple, a surge, a collective gasp. Something was wrong. Police sirens blared, their sharp cries cutting through the ambient hum of the terminal. Security personnel, faces grim, rushed towards Gate D7. Whispers started, then grew into a chorus of speculation. Fear, contagious and potent, spread through the terminal. The airport, a symbol of global connection, suddenly felt vulnerable, exposed. An unsettling question hung in the air. What just happened at Gate D7? John Smith, a seasoned security supervisor, knew the airport like the back of his hand. 20 years on the job, countless faces, endless routines. He'd seen it all, or so he thought. John was a man of habit. Coffee at 6 a.m., security checks by 7 a.m., and a watchful eye on the monitors for the rest of his shift. He believed in vigilance, in the power of observation to prevent disaster. That morning, however, felt different. A strange energy buzzed through the terminal. An undercurrent of tension he couldn't quite place. It gnawed at him. He'd just finished reviewing the overnight security tapes, his eyes scanning for anything unusual. A forgotten bag, a suspicious exchange. Then his radio crackled. Code red, Gate D7, his heart pounded. This was no ordinary breach. She went by Jane Doe, an assumed name for an enigmatic figure. Tall, elegant, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories. She moved with purpose, her every step radiating an air of quiet confidence. Jane Doe was booked on the London flight. She arrived early, her movements swift and precise. She carried a single piece of luggage, a worn leather suitcase that seemed at odds with her expensive attire. Witnesses later recalled her unusual calmness, while other passengers fidgeted with their boarding passes and scrolled through their phones. She sat still, her gaze fixed on the departure board. A young mother, struggling with a stroller and a crying child, remembered Jane Doe offering a kind smile and a helping hand. Even then, there was something in her eyes, a flicker of something unreadable, that left an impression. At 8:02 a.m., Jane Doe checked in at the counter. She presented her passport, a Canadian document. The agent, a young woman named Sarah, noted her impeccable English, tinged with a faint, unidentifiable accent. Sarah scanned the passport, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Everything seemed in order. Yet a prickle of unease ran down her spine. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right. As Sarah printed the boarding pass, she glanced up at Jane Doe. Their eyes met for a fleeting moment, and Sarah felt a chill. The woman's gaze was intense, almost predatory. Sarah quickly averted her eyes, her heart pounding. 8:15 a.m., Jane Doe passed through security. She walked through the metal detector without incident. Her bag, when x-rayed, revealed nothing unusual. Clothes, toiletries, a few books. To all appearances, just another traveler. 8:30 a.m. The airport was already bustling with activity. A sea of travelers moving with purpose, each on their own journey. The terminal was a blend of excitement and anxiety, the air thick with the scent of coffee and the hum of conversations. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, a constant reminder of the passage of time. Jane Doe was seated in the waiting area, a book resting on her lap. She hadn't opened it. The book was merely a prop, a shield to mask her true intentions. Her fingers traced the edges of the cover absent-mindedly, her mind elsewhere. She was waiting, but not for a flight. Her eyes darted occasionally to the gate, then back to the book. A dance of anticipation and dread. Her gaze, fixed on the gate entrance, was unwavering. Every person who walked through the gate was scrutinized, evaluated, and dismissed. She was looking for someone, or perhaps waiting for something to happen. The intensity in her eyes spoke volumes, a silent testament to the storm brewing within her. The minutes ticked by, each one ratcheting up the tension in the terminal. The clock's hands moved with agonizing slowness, each tick echoing in Jane's mind like a drumbeat. She could feel the weight of each passing second, the pressure mounting with every moment that slipped away. The terminal's usual hustle and bustle seemed distant, muffled by the pounding of her heart. Then, at precisely 8:42 a.m., it happened. The air seemed to shift, a subtle change that sent a shiver down Jane's spine. She straightened in her seat, her senses on high alert. The moment she had been waiting for had arrived, and she knew there was no turning back. A group of men, dressed in nondescript clothing, their faces obscured by caps and sunglasses, entered the terminal. They moved with a purpose, their steps synchronized, their presence commanding. They were like shadows, blending into the background yet exuding an aura of menace. Jane's eyes locked onto them, her breath catching in her throat. They moved with military precision, their eyes scanning the crowd. Jane Doe saw them. She recognized the way they moved, the way they communicated with subtle gestures and glances. They were professionals, and they were looking for someone, her. She could feel their eyes on her, even as they pretended to be just another group of travelers. A flicker of recognition crossed her face. She knew who they were, and she knew what they wanted. Her mind raced, calculating her next move. She couldn't afford to panic. Not now. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The game was on, and she was ready to play. She calmly closed her book, rose from her seat, and melted into the throng of passengers gathering near the gate, disappearing from view just as the first shout rang out. "There she is!" The words cut through the air like a knife, sending a jolt of adrenaline through her veins. She moved quickly, her steps purposeful, yet unhurried, blending into the crowd with practiced ease. A voice thick with urgency cut through the terminal's hum. Chaos erupted. The once orderly terminal descended into pandemonium, the calm shattered by the sudden eruption of noise and movement. The announcement blared over the loudspeakers, adding to the confusion. Jane kept her head down, her movements fluid and deliberate, navigating the chaos with a calm exterior that belied the storm within. People screamed, ran, ducked for cover. The terminal was a sea of bodies, a chaotic dance of fear and confusion. Luggage was abandoned, coffee cups spilled, and the air was filled with the sound of frantic footsteps and panicked voices. Jane moved through it all, her focus unwavering, her goal clear. She had to get out, and she had to do it now. The men in black pushed through the panicked crowd, their pursuit relentless. They moved with a single-minded determination, their eyes scanning the sea of faces for any sign of Jane. She could feel their presence, a dark cloud looming over her. She quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. The exit was in sight, but the path was fraught with obstacles. She had to stay one step ahead, or it would all be over. Jane's face was a mask of determination. She had been in tight spots before, but this was different. The stakes were higher, the danger more immediate. She couldn't afford to make a mistake. Every decision, every step had to be calculated, precise. She weaved through the crowd, her eyes scanning for any potential escape routes. The men were closing in, but she was not about to give up. She spotted a side door, partially hidden behind a row of vending machines. Without hesitation, she slipped through it, the noise of the terminal fading behind her. The corridor was dimly lit, a stark contrast to the bright chaos she had just left. She took a moment to catch her breath, her mind racing. She needed a plan, and she needed it fast. Jane moved quickly through the deserted corridor, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to see the men in black hot on her heels. But the corridor was empty for now. She knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. She had to keep moving, find a way out before they caught up to her. She came across a maintenance door, its paint chipped and faded. She hesitated for a moment, weighing her options. It was a gamble, but she didn't have much choice. She pushed the door open and slipped inside, the darkness swallowing her. The air was musty, the space cramped and cluttered with equipment. She moved carefully, her senses on high alert. The maintenance tunnels were a labyrinth, a maze of narrow passages and dead ends. Jane navigated them with a mix of instinct and desperation, her mind working overtime to map out a route to safety. She could hear the distant sounds of the terminal, a reminder of the chaos she had left behind. But she couldn't afford to think about that now. She had to focus on the task at hand. She found a service elevator, its doors slightly ajar. She pressed the button with urgency, willing the elevator to arrive quickly. Every second felt like an eternity, the tension mounting with each passing moment. Finally, the doors slid open, and she stepped inside, her heart pounding. She pressed the button for the ground floor, the doors closing with a soft hiss. The elevator descended slowly, the numbers ticking down with agonizing slowness. Jane's mind raced, her thoughts a whirlwind of plans and contingencies. She knew the men in black would be searching for her, and it was only a matter of time before they found the maintenance tunnels. She had to be ready, had to stay one step ahead. The doors opened to a quiet, deserted loading dock. Jane stepped out cautiously, her eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. The loading dock was a stark contrast to the chaos of the terminal, a momentary respite in her frantic escape. She took a deep breath, her mind already working on her next move. She spotted a delivery truck parked near the edge of the dock, its engine idling. It was her best chance. She made her way towards it, her steps quick and deliberate. The driver was nowhere to be seen, likely inside the building making a delivery. She climbed into the back of the truck, pulling the door closed behind her. The darkness enveloped her, but she felt a glimmer of hope. She had made it this far, and she wasn't about to give up now. The truck rumbled to life, pulling away from the loading dock. Jane peeked out from the back, watching as the airport receded into the distance. She had escaped, for now, but she knew this was only the beginning. The men in black wouldn't give up easily, and she had to stay vigilant. The road ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to face whatever came her way. The vanishing point was just the start of her journey.